And as we do every Tuesday, we get the good opportunity to catch up with Dr. Jeff Pierce. And Dr. Pierce, look, we talk a lot about injuries and everything like that on here. And there's some stuff, too, that I'm fighting. And since you're here, I'm going to ask you about it a little bit later on. But, as we've looked at the NBA playoffs, youth versus age, youth is winning right now, Dr. Pierce. A lot of the injuries, a lot of the ankle injuries, stuff like that. What are you seeing out there right now in the game of basketball? Because the ankle injury seems to be more prevalent than it's ever been.
Well, I've always said the ankle is the most disrespected joint in the body. It takes on all the pressures, right? The ankle injuries, rolling the ankle, people play through it. They don't think much, but when you start thinking where your power is coming from, where your first steps coming from, it's all starting with the foot forces. The vector forces and all that we've talked before between your ankle, your knee, your hip. But it's just, there's wear and tear. These guys are wearing out. It's a long season. Have they rehabbed it a lot? To roll an ankle or to be unfortunate where you land on somebody else's foot, or you just land wrong, or you try to jump for the ball. There's just so many things. Like right now, we've had a couple in our office. I actually had a young softball player that's up for a scholarship out of high school, and she just has this silly little injury where it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's going to put her out. For that, it's on the outside of her ankle, comes around the bony part, what we call the lateral malleolus. There's 2 ligaments that come in there, and they're in a sheet called the retinaculum. There's just a partial tear of that. When you get a partial tear of it, there's 2 tendons, and if those tendons lose their integrity, you're basically losing that stability of the ankle. And then it shuts down, then it's nerve involvement, and then you lose your power, you lose your strength, and you start changing your mechanics. Like we had another ankle injury where it's 3 years old, and nobody taught her what to do. And not getting off on my patients in the office, but it's like bad medicine, bad recommendations from 2-3 years ago to an uneducated person. Like, well, I'm just supposed to live with it. Now she's got knee pain, hip pain, and back pain. It's like, like I always say, the car will still go down the street with one tire out of alignment, but you're wearing it out quickly and you're putting more pressure on other things. So, to get to the NBA, youth versus age, yeah, Minnesota's just beaten up, but I can't tell you that Denver's old. Want to pick on old, you pick on the Lakers. But it's young joints, it's wear and tear. There's 2 philosophies I have. It's wear and tear. It's how many turns do you really get. These young guys have obviously less turns on them, and it's the core strength. There's core strength of everything. I think we really do need to do a show on the ankle and on the foot power, because if you're watching Instagram a lot, there's a lot of things being expressed with explosiveness and first step and making a difference between a regular athlete, a high school athlete, and an elite athlete. Those things are making the difference, and it's important. And people are they want those beauty muscles going, but the beauty muscles isn't getting you on that first step type of thing.
What about
your beauty muscles?
Yeah, you're a big beauty muscle
guy. You popped up when
D-Mac.
I said beauty muscles.
You were talking about me, Doc. So that's what it had to have been. But is that the latest? Is that like the groin injury or the tear in hockey? As far as when you're hearing about these ankle injuries, and especially in basketball or wherever, from the wear and tear like that, is that sort of like what the sport hernia was? Is it is there preparation for it now? Is this sort of a new thing? You know how we had to focus more on the core, right? When
we had to get muscle balance on the core.
Right. So is it something that the same sort of thing with the ankle where it's preventative, or is it just
oh my god, so preventative?
So
preventative.
Like you and Doc, right? Just in your voice when you were answering, is it preventative? Right. It is something because nobody ever says.
I'm trying to get the point across, right? Where Doc is giving this an analogy to these injuries, and I know, listening, not even watching him, is that there's this disgust because the education of, if you just done this a little bit more, and I go back to, the core injuries and stuff, and how he was adamant, right, where we have to change your mentality of why you're building these muscles. Now, when he gets into this, so there's something that is happening, and I don't care if it's basketball, baseball, any sports, to anybody, it falls downhill, even to the kids and stuff like this. So the preventative can start earlier where we don't have to see this. So continue with that, because you've seen a lot of this.
What I was going to bring up with the doc is, obviously we talked before, like I run a lot. I'm told about stretching and muscle development, all that stuff. Never once has anybody ever suggested anything. What can you do for ankle health? Obviously a lot of impact and things like that. Why is it overlooked?
I don't know, because we've never overlooked it. Like in Michigan Sports and Spine,
Right.
It's always been an issue. It's where your foot meets the ground. It's called impact.
It's a point of contact, yeah.
It's your point of contact. It's the foot plate. It's the force plate, whatever, how big. I've dealt with people that lose their big toe. The mechanics of losing your big toe and still being able-bodied and productive. We deal with disabled athletes all the time. But the easiest thing, like the simplest thing I could tell you, is as you brush your teeth, so you're supposed to brush your teeth for how long?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. If you're doing toe-ups, just lifting your foot up, go basically for 1 minute on your whole foot, and then lift your big toe up and continue to do toe-ups, your ankle in 3 months will be 10 times stronger than it is now. That's just a simple thing anyone can do. To really do it, you'll see, and maybe we should pull some videos of what we need to do for ankle strength. It's the rubber band stuff. It's going up. It's explosiveness. It's jumping onto a 12-inch pad. Any of those things. You need to be aware of it. When we played basketball back in the early 1900s,
with the peach
our
baskets.
coach was pro ankle injuries. We had to do walkies, which you walked on the outside of your foot 10 times back and forth. Everybody thought it was silly, but it built some infrastructure. So when Darren says, I'm pushing for kids to do it, I'm pushing for that to be part of their training, especially like ladder work, speed work, all that stuff. It's okay to do it, but make sure you're hitting the ground correctly. Like the mechanics of the foot, the way the foot comes out, the way you run, if you're a sprinter versus a long distance, all that stuff matters on how you train your foot. But the whole thing, like we talk about, if I say core, you automatically think of your abdomen, right?
Correct.
So I need to educate our viewers, our people, our person, that there's a core around every joint. There's a core around the shoulder. There's a core around the hip. There's a core around the ankle foot. There's a core muscles that you need to deal with. And that's, I love that I'm seeing more and more, and I'm seeing young kids putting out Instagrams or TikToks or whatever we're calling it, social media stuff, that's saying, these are the things I've done to increase my speed, to increase my jump, to increase my way to get around somebody. Especially with lacrosse, that first step is huge. So I'm rambling on ankles here.
No, well, I've never thought about it till before this moment. For
Right.
real, Doc, I'm just being honest with you. I've never thought about my ankle before till you just brought that up.
The other thing that's big is that we'll do ellipticals, we'll do stationary bikes. Those are all lacking impact to the ankle, so there's no real force. So I've always argued I'm against pure running because it's so much impact, so much force, but it's still creating that vector, the forces for that foot to respond with eccentric and eccentric, like going down and coming off, antagonistic, antagonistic. So it's like you're putting your foot down. Same muscles have to hold your foot so it just doesn't foot slap, right? Like I used to make fun of Drapes because Drapes was fast as hell on the ladder work, right? But you could hear him from a mile away. Remember that? So if you're hearing him, he's going to be so mad I'm saying this.
Oh, yeah.
He's not listening, so we're okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
But when you hear it loud, like when I ask, like I'll do a telemedicine visit or something, and we'll be somebody from California. It'll be, well, I'm running. Like, can you hear yourself? Can you hear yourself running? Are you soft? Are you a soft runner? Like you. Can you hear yourself running? Can they hear you coming?
No.
They can't.
No.
You
It's
feel
more up
your-
on the ball.
No, he's a soft runner.
He is?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. The efficiencies, you're probably lasting longer. Those heavy runners aren't using all the muscles they need to for efficient running. Like if you hear a sprinter, you can't hear him coming.
Right.
other than his breathing. But like from a running, like with certain players, they're boom, boom, boom. And that's how we tease out good athletic young kids. When we talk about coordination, for coaches out there, for parents out there, can your kids skip? That's coordination. When you think about that, sounds so stupid, Doc, but think about it. You're skipping, you're doing so many movements. Both sides of your brains have to work. You have to move your arms up and down. Do your arms move when you're running? There's just so many little things to put red flags on kids that are natural athletes versus, hey, we need to work on this. We need to train on that. Those are injury preventions for later in life. So when we start early, we love it. Am I getting too deep here?
No, absolutely not. Woodward Sports chat thread, Wyatt Bear, feels like I've been getting turf toe running around on all these football fields during my time running around. Kevin Bell, Neil brushes teeth twice a day. No,
Did he split the 1 minute up twice a day?
No, I don't. I need to do that, though. I do need to incorporate that. All right, Doc, I did want to shift gears because it's something, and I know, like, we've been talking a lot about ankle stability. I know you guys handle that kind of stuff at the Michigan Sports and Spine Center. Again, you go to michigansportandspine.com. Dr. Pierce there teaches prevention techniques to prohibit further injuries and, get some control of your recovery. Because we're all going through this, man. You're not just dealing with the Darren McCartys and the, $1 million athletes and stuff like that. You deal with people in real life. I'm a real life dude. I try to be active and stuff like that. And I'm telling you, man, like this approaching the mid-40s has been a very quick decline just in like the nagging stuff. And the longer I go during the week, in terms of physical activity, I'm starting to notice like the neck pain, the back pain, and maybe that's like impact-related stuff because I've learned that from you that it's not just the surface, it's the stuff that leads up to the surface. What are you guys doing over there to help us old folks? To help us older folks. And I'm not looking for cures. I understand that there's mileage concerns, but I'm talking about how do I deal with this stuff, man?
Well, I mean, the rule is usually 2 weeks. Like if you're just having a gradual nagging, then you got to take a step back and reevaluate what you're doing.
Yeah, it's just general soreness. Like, you can tell the difference between like injury and just wear, like general soreness. At the end of the week, I'm cooked, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Monday, I'm good, but...
So like someone like you kind of have your routine.
Right.
I do this routine. I've done this routine. My muscles are used to it. But your body's taking on different issues, right? You are aging. There is things going on differently. You need to get into stretching. You need to switch it up. Cross training isn't just for young kids. It's for older people too. Like I've had someone who just swims all the time, can swim for 2 hours, but her conditioning or her muscle strength wasn't building. It was like your muscles are used to what you're doing. You need to challenge it differently to like turn it on, right? So there's a science right now, apparently out of Harvard, that says at a certain age your muscles just aren't listening anymore, right? You have to get them. You have to stimulate them differently. You have to do different things, as is in the diet, all that. But to answer your question, simple, you need to switch it up a little bit. You need to think about yoga activity, Pilates activity. If you don't like that, it's like Tai Chi, or just switch sports. Or, like I used to, when I was really doing stuff, we would do a cross training at least once or twice a week, along with my routine training. So like call your running, like that's your routine. Your wear and tear, you're starting to notice that I'm not paying as much attention to my core, but heck, I'm running an hour, I'm running 12 miles a week. That should be enough. It's not enough because you're only paying attention to those muscles. You've got to pay attention for a full body workout.
Man,
so
it's not the answer I wanted to hear.
Yeah, you're gonna, if it's a trainer, and some, these trainers, good trainers are so valuable. Other trainers are so detrimental. So you have to know the education of a trainer, or someone like challenge me on what I got challenged by the running club out of Northville. The first year I came out as the hotshot sports medicine guy. I was the first guy in Michigan to do what I was doing. I had somehow the running club knew about it. And then one person said, "Do you run? Are you American?" I said, "No." I go, "What the hell do you know that?" And so from that moment on, I have to appeal to all of them. We've done how do I take care of a figure skater when I'm Mr. Hockey, Dr. Hockey? I got that learning curve. So I went and I trained and I understood what the differences were.
And I got to do the same thing, right?
You need to understand that you're doing a workout, you're taking that time, but maybe that time should be utilized differently and more encompassing of your body. Because if you ignore it, you're going to lose.
Absolutely. Talking here with Dr. Jeff Pierce, MichiganSportandSpine.com. If you've got the aches, I'm telling you guys my story right now. Certainly you want to check in with them and see what they can do for you. But Dr. Pierce, as always, man, we appreciate the time every single Tuesday. And again, thank you for your wisdom, I guess you could say. But next time, give me answers I want to hear, okay?
Yeah, have a drink. Yeah. We can go back to the Mickey Redmond theory. Is like 2 beers after a game and let it all out. I did want to mention something.
Yeah,
I watched an ESPN special, and we talk about this a lot about mental toughness. I don't know how much time we have.
No, yeah, you're good.
But there was an ESPN thing about that mental toughness and how there's emotional things. People are committing suicide at this point. Maybe it'll be a lead-in or we can get some questions going. But
sure.
The death rate of suicide in college athletes is climbing to a ridiculous amount. And I spoke that do we need to sweep it under the rug? Do we need to identify it more? Do we need to talk about it more? I don't have the answer, but I was moved by this because it was a football player that took his own life and there were warning signs. So do we need to educate, now you're putting on the team, they all feel guilty because they didn't respond to the warning signs that were there when in retrospect you look at that. And you can't beat yourself up mentally on retrospect. But
that's a tough discussion.
This is tough and deep, and I kind of try to be the guy who pushes it under, and you can't. Like mental toughness, you need to work through it. But here's a poor outcome that's affecting the whole team mentally and a guilt factor, and I really don't know how the answer will come out.
Yeah.
Always the answer is educate more. Like, to name drop again, which you guys accuse me for, when I was in China, in Beijing, we did an awareness for mental illness, because in China, if you showed mental illness, you were put in a different category. And I won't mention his name, but a very famous movie star out there he ran that, and we supported it from the NBA, and I actually got more involved because I was the doctor. So it was really sad how those people were pushed aside and how he was creating awareness, and they feel they've made a difference. So in the big picture,
let's do it next week for sure.
In the big picture, I guess, talking about awareness, but in proportion, and and how do you deal with that?
Absolutely.
Unfortunate outcome.
Real quick here before we let you go, Danny G, I've had a lot of knee problems. It was all starting from my ankles. I started stability training, and my knees haven't felt this good in years. So it does resonate with the people. You are right. I don't want to have to add another thing to the routine, but maybe I'm going to have to. So I guess that's the moral of the story.
At least toe-ups while you're brushing your teeth.
You got it. Dr. Pierce, appreciate the time as always.
All right, guys.
All right, there he is. Dr. Jeff Pierce, MichiganSportandSpine.com.